Hello and welcome to another edition of Community Forum. My name is Joseph Feaster. I am the host of the program. And as I say each and every time, I always have exciting people in this room to discuss with me, but to educate you on what they are involved with. And today is no exception. I have a distinguished group of individuals who are volunteers in this town, of which there are many persons who volunteer their time to do what is best for the town of Stoughton. But in this particular case, folks have come together because they want to focus upon Stoughton Center. We've talked about Stoughton Center from wanting to bring businesses in, to deal with some of the retail, some of the transportation issues, some of the beautification issues. These are all things that these individuals have devoted their time to for, I think, at least a year, but at least for the past couple of months. And I wanted to have them speak to you about what they're doing. So I'm excited to have three individuals in this morning or today in order to discuss with me what the Friends of Stoughton Center are about. So again, I want to welcome you to here, and I want to introduce you. And as you are seated next to me, we have the president of the Friends of Stoughton Center, or FOSC as they like to be called, Forrest Lindwall. Next to him is Janice Lindwall, who is on the Beautification Committee, and a member of the Board of Directors, Leo Fay, all Stoughton residents, persons who have been involved in a number of activities here in Stoughton. So I'm just going to start, and I suspect, Mr. President, I'll go to you. And I like that sound for you, for sure, Forrest. It has a nice ring to it.
Well, Janice prefers to be called the First Lady of Stoughton. Yeah,
well, in terms of, well, then we'll do that throughout this show. That's one thing I can't control. You know, while Roy is sitting over there, he can't turn off the mic, so I can definitely have us take some liberties on the program. But can you tell us, what is the Friends of Stoughton Center? When did it get started? Why did it get started? If you could start there, that would be helpful.
I can. It was about 2.5 years ago. The town's economic development director, Pam McCarthy, who had come to us from Norwood, was well aware that there were such groups in Norwood, in Dedham, Randolph, and other communities where it's a group of citizens who are really interested in helping out a particular aspect of their community. And so she was gathering some folks, as Pam often does, and they had a few meetings, and excuse me, and somehow they settled on the name the Friends of Stoughton Center. At that point, the idea was to put together a nonprofit 501c3 charitable organization that would become self-sufficient, raise its own funds, etc. And with the help of Joe Scardino, who provided a lot of pro bono legal expertise, John Stagnone from the Friends of Stoughton Center, they formed a bylaw committee and put together a set of bylaws. And so we had a meeting at the police station, and the people were interested in being nominated to the board of directors. So we had a little election, and I volunteered and was elected to be on the board of directors at the time. And the board consisted of myself, Dan Kelly, who's on the planning board now, Bernie Planetta, who owns Planet Securities in downtown Stoughton, Regina Iarati, and Bill Angelos, who's also on the planning board. And I had never met Bernie Planetta, but at the subsequent meeting with the board of directors, he nominated me to be president. And I didn't know Bernie from a hole in the wall. And somehow I got elected to be president. And that
sounds like the French Foreign Legion.
That was 2 years ago. So that board was in place by the bylaws for 2 years. We were able to achieve the 501c3 status 2 years ago in August, actually. And since then, the numbers have grown to somewhere around 140 members of the community have signed on. To be a member, it just requires...
Well, let me see, because I don't want you to do the whole talking on
no,
this
that's
show.
Fine.
I know
that's
you
fine.
can,
yeah.
But in terms of... well, I've known them long enough to...
Well, let me just finish about the membership.
Okay.
To be a member, there's no dues. You just need to be a resident of Stoughton or the owner of a business here in Stoughton. And we're up somewhere over 140 members, although maybe 35 or 40 are active on various subcommittees or whatever.
What I also want to do, because I don't like to make presumptions about this, so I want each of you, when you do, tell a little bit about you. I like to personalize it, so I'm not going to assume that the viewing audience knows you, Forrest, or know you, Janice, or even know you, Leo. So tell a little bit about you, because it's as important for us to know about not only what you do in this particular effort, but who you are and other things you've been involved in the town. So I'm going to give you the floor again, and then I'm going to go to Janice.
Okay. I've been a Stoughton resident for just a little under 18 years, I guess, at this point. And I was transitioning out of full-time work, and my background is basically an engineering consultant. I've worked for municipalities throughout the Commonwealth and state agencies, from Mass Highway on down to DCR, et cetera. I had a lot more time on my hands, and so I started to get involved in some activities around town. I chose to go on the redevelopment authority as a replacement to someone who left, and then I got elected to the redevelopment authority. Somewhere along the line, when you were the interim town manager, there was a pedestrian fatality, and you brought together a lot of folks to create the transportation task force in town. I volunteered to step up and serve on that because I do have a background in traffic engineering. And that's been a lot of fun. We've done a lot of good things.
Well, in fact, one of the projects is the one on Central Street. Isn't that one of the projects that came by the Hanson School?
By the Hanson School was we put in a temporary sidewalk. The depot did, okay, right. But then also worked out a lot of mitigation on the Taj Estates. We have a lot more projects pending before Mass Highway for funding that the town is working on the design of. We got into the Safe Routes to School program. We did road safety audits. So that's been just a joy, I think, for me, because it's my background. And I've done a few other things. We are active in Immaculate Conception Church as a lector and Eucharistic minister. I grew up in Taunton. So I remember before there was a Route 24, my grandmother had to go to the hospital, Mass Eye and Ear Infirmary, a couple times a year. So my father would drive us. So he was a truck driver. He drove us right up 138. We hit Stoughton Diner or the Hand-Cut Donuts place in Canton, if you remember that. So I've been around a long time.
Well, Janice, let me come to you, because I know you're on the beautification committee, but like I did with Forrest, I'd like our audience to know a little bit about you and then talk about what you're doing on that particular committee.
Okay, well, I'm a retired school teacher. I was involved in the Randolph schools for 37 years. I grew up in Randolph. I ended up as a reading specialist, which I loved. I then retired, and so I started to turn my focus to my hometown, because when I was teaching, that was where my focus was, in the town of Randolph. So I said, well, now I'm retired, I should help out my own town. And so I'm on the beautification committee, which is an offshoot of the Friends of Stoughton Center, where we put the flowers in the center of town. I also volunteer at the food bank with some very impressive people. I'm in awe of them. What else do I do?
CPC.
Oh, that's right. I'm a member of the Community Preservation Committee. I don't know how I could forget that. I've been on that now for 9 years, and that has been an honor. The people on that committee are just amazing. Mr. Morton, who's our chairman, uses words like tools. He's that good. I have so much respect for everyone on that committee, and we've done some wonderful things for the town, and we have more things coming.
Well, see, again, before I get to Leo, because I want to stay with you for a moment, Janice, it's like I said in the opening. You three are persons who are engaged and involved in the town. This isn't your, this isn't your first rodeo involved with the FOSC. You are committed to it. You're right. Residents of it. You're committed to it. Just to talk a little bit more, because you said about the beautification, let's go a little bit deeper and walk folks through exactly what you do. I know folks drive through, most of the time folks are not happy because the congestion in Stoughton Center, and so therefore they don't recognize it. I know from time to time I do see flowers, I do see different things that are up there, particularly during the holiday season. Talk a little bit more about what your goals, your thoughts are with respect to beautification and the things that you've done.
Really the force behind that was three ladies, Sandy Jordan, Rachel Morton, and Julie Gito. Those three ladies have been volunteering for years, putting flowers around town. And so when the Friends of Stoughton Center got started up under the auspices of Pam McCarthy, who is our community organizer, they decided to branch out and get other people from the community to volunteer, which I did. And another volunteer was Janice Zeglin, who is our chairperson. She is also a horticulturalist, so she comes in very handy. And so these ladies go out, they pick the flowers, I go over and help with other members, and we help plant the pots. And then they get placed around town. I'm sure everyone's seen them, especially in the center. And Forrest ordered the brackets that you see up on the poles so we could put hanging planters. And if I do say so myself, this past year I think was beautiful. The flowers were just gorgeous, the hanging geraniums. It was difficult. We all take turns watering the flowers, but the hanging pots were a challenge. We were getting soaked, not just the flowers.
Now, well, you know, and I just stop you for this one thing, because I'm always looking to make the connections and to raise issues. Now, in other places, they have, the municipality will have the trucks that will go around and will do that.
Right.
I know we do that. I always speak back to Boston because that's where I do most of my politics, but again, they do that. Would that be something that would be helpful? Should we be advocating in town meeting that we have these trucks to water that? There's no sense in having the plants go there and then die.
As a matter of fact, we did go and we asked the DPW if they could help out. They were very willing to. They've been wonderful. Okay. And they have this, you know, this big container that has water in it with a wand. Right. And they go along and they will water the hanging plants, which, oh, we are so grateful for that. And then we take care of watering the pots because they're on the ground and it's no problem. And when I'm out there watering, and I'm sure my other members have the same experience, people are driving by and they beep the horn, they wave, they stop and they say, you know, good job. A few times they've held up traffic.
Well, I'm going to give those same people an opportunity, because when I get the funding, I want to help raise money for
that
you guys.
That is one thing.
I don't want to talk about it right now, but what I am going to do is...
That's a big issue.
It's that festive time of the year, and we're going to be talking about what the Friends of Stoughton Center need for that. But
yeah,
I want to get to Leo in terms of one. Leo, I want you to talk about you. I know you're a board member, and you could talk about, in that capacity, what your role and responsibility is.
Sure. Well, my experience comes from, I've been Vice President of Operations at the company I work for, the Pro Group, and, you know, really kind of focus on what we can do to pull people together to make it work. And what I'd like to do is get more of the businesses involved. It's what we're really looking for with the Friends of Stoughton Center, is we need more of not only the business owners, but also the property owners. Because a lot of times the businesses downtown, they're renting that space. And Pam and myself, a couple of years ago, as we were talking, we ran a couple of meetings. We were trying to get more of the property owners involved. Pam went door to door, dropping off leaflets, trying to get the attention out to bring more attention to the downtown area. You know, we need it. We need to dress it up. Beautification Committee does a great job with the flowers, but working to strengthen the downtown with business and activity. You know, you brought up the traffic and the parking. You know, we know that a lot of people avoid the center of town just because of traffic issues. There's been a big parking study that's been done by Pam in her office that's in the process of just being evaluated. There was a lot of people that participated in the survey they did online, which was a great feedback. And a lot of the points came up clearly that, you know, we need better signage, we need better awareness of where the municipal parking is. I mean, it was surprising to see how many people didn't know that small lot on the corner of Freeman Street was town-owned municipal parking. They thought it belonged to the building where Pacheco Hardware used to be.
You know what, again, I'm going to try to do some of this pairing, and I'm going to harken back to some of the conversations that even Forrest and I had when we were on Redevelopment Authority, when he was on the Redevelopment Authority. Several things that have been done and tried in other places. And Janice, going towards your point of beautification, is it a possibility to put on your agenda, one, businesses, first and foremost, doing the beautification in front of their operation? I mean, 138, and I've said it a million times, is one of the most unattractive roadways that I've seen. And I had an experience of being down in Fairfax, Virginia, and what they did, they bought trees, and I raised this even when I was interim town manager, and I raised it, but it falls on deaf ears, that they do that. Or businesses, you see the thing that says, this mile bought by so-and-so. That may be going towards your business participation. The second thing is, if we could get the Chamber of Commerce to, a Stoughton Chamber of Commerce to become a advocacy organization for businesses, that might be helpful, as opposed to, as I call it, and Terry will probably call me after this program, in terms of just a fundraising organization to be the advocate. And the last one is, I hear you having some partnership with municipal government, working with Ms. McCarthy. But to what extent, and the DPW, as you said, Janice, is there more of the connection that can be made in terms of the public-private partnership that might be helpful to FOSC? And any one of you can answer that.
I think that the first part of the answer is that the Friends of Stoughton Center have been a stakeholder in the different types of projects that Pam McCarthy has undertaken. She did a space analysis study, and in order to do that, she needed a group like Friends of Stoughton Center to back that up as being a stakeholder. We were certainly a major stakeholder on the parking management study, and attended the meetings and voiced, our opinion. So we've worked very, very closely with Pam. Officially, she's our technical advisor, okay, as a municipal employee. And fortunately, under the prior town manager and the interim town manager just recently, they've allowed her to make a significant contribution in her time. But, the payback has been that we attend these meetings with the state people. She's put together the grant, or is putting together grants for community development block grants, right, which would be huge. And that's infrastructure improvements. As far as we've not gone to the town looking for funds, we have our own events committee. We do 2 events a year. We do the carnival in the springtime. We do the golf tournament at Cedar Hill. And so far, those have been sufficient. We need to do a little bit more fundraising. We did 2 years ago, we put together a flyer, and we paid for the cost of it up front, for the printing and the cutting and whatnot that went out with the water bills. And we got a couple of $1,000s on $10 checks and $20 checks. People just sent money in. That became problematic at the Board of Selectmen over a policy issue. So we sort of stepped back from that. Hopefully under the more recent situations on the Board of Selectmen, that we could get a policy in place where we could do that once a year, that any nonprofit could apply to do that, because people do see what's going on in the center of town. And it was amazing the number of checks that we got, as I said, were $10,
well, the reason why I wasn't aware of that specific situation, and I'm very much aware of the public-private partnerships and how it might be structured legally, in the sense of that I haven't totally participated in. But I mean, there's so many different examples that whereby I think that you can get that mutuality of funding that could come in because you establish it. Now I know that Pam McCarthy, when she was in Norwood, and certainly she has a lot of knowledge, and she also worked at the state government.
She did
as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
I remember, because I think I was involved with hiring her. But the reality was that she has those connections, and we've talked about CDBG, there's Mass Works. Yeah. The issue is having the right persons to be able to assist you as private citizens in order to be able to do that. Leo, you were hearkening back to what the businesses can do. Is that something which you would want to take the initiative on, or in getting that accomplished?
Yes, originally that's where Pam and I had started on, having a business committee, business owners committee. We did have one meeting. As you know, my wife owns the Stoughton House of Brews. We had a meeting there that we had several of the business owners come to, trying to get more of the business owners involved with the beautification committee. If there's work going to be done outside of their property, would they be willing to help? Many of them do help with the watering. It's kind of nice to see that they personally take care of the pots that are outside their location. So yeah, that was one of the reasons I had talked to Forrest about getting on the board, is I figured with a board position it would be a lot easier for me to reach out to these other businesses. Back to your previous question, with the public and the private communities working together, a great example of the downtown activity is when the Stoughton Police Department do their safe trick-or-treat for the kids. The Stoughton Police Department do a wonderful job putting that together. This year there was close to 300, maybe more, 300 kids that attended that. The police department, they put together a nice little haunted house in the police station. They walk the kids around through the center in their costumes to local businesses. The DPW is involved in that. The fire department is involved in that. They have trucks for the kids to play on. The DPW put up a nice little display. Town hall is open. They're involved in that. It's really a nice little event. And, you know, you get something like the Holiday Lights Parade that's coming up, and the more people we can get engaged in these activities and the more stuff we can see in the downtown area and get people to see that we do have a jewel there. It's a little dusty and it's a little dirty, but we can polish it.
Let me. I'm gonna go probably off script here for a minute, because I have the three of you involved persons in the town, and we, looking at issue more broadly. Do you have any thoughts about how we can get others involved? I see the same 50 people on the same committees doing the same things, no matter what it is in town. And all of you can speak to that, what might you do in terms of your type of outreach? Because you even talked about here, Forrest, about now it's up to 100 persons and plus involved, maybe 35 directly involved. But just as we see in the elections, the number of actual people, we have over, I believe now, over 27,000 residents in Stoughton. What might we do in looking at, one, getting residents involved, and I know, Leo, you talked about the businesses. What strategies might you employ?
I think that's a struggle for a lot of towns. The idea that only 15 or 18 or 20% of the people come out to vote in local elections. In some communities, it's 5% or 7%. People are busy, so busy. They really are. I do think that some of the groups we've learned from in other communities have a much closer relationship, with the town government, and that is helpful. I'd like to just go back to your issue of working with the town government on one thing. I have put together a citizen's petition on behalf of Friends of Stoughton Center to have the town meeting approve the purchase and installation of a variable message board. When we have a special announcement, DPW brings out their very unattractive, ugly orange trailer with the orange blinking, town meeting or whatever. Not to put that down. It's functional, it works. This would be a permanent in-place sign. It'd be a 4-foot high by 8-foot wide LED television screen that would have variable messages on there. Every 8 seconds or so, a different message would go by, from welcome to Stoughton Center to there's a tournament, that somebody's running this weekend. And that can be controlled by Wi-Fi from Town Hall. So that's our first venture of going before town meeting and requesting some funding. And I'm trying to get the Redevelopment Authority to chime in on that, perhaps do a matching grant type of thing. We have just taken 2 years to really get ourselves together.
Yes.
And I think that's a start, okay? But how you get that other, larger population involved, I don't know, it's difficult. I can tell you that on the beautification committee, we have 15, 16 people Only 2 or 3 of them are really involved in town, other than doing this, okay, but they're excellent at it. Right now, there was a gentleman who was doing the lights on the trees in the center of town. He has left town or wherever, so the beautification committee is trying to step up. We had hoped that the town events committee would be able to do it, but they weren't. They're doing the planning for the party, for the parade for Saturday evening. So the DPW helped us. We got the tree decorated. Janice.
Well, if I could...
It's
Yes.
a struggle. It's a struggle, but...
we've been trying with those lights in the center of town. The beautification committee, and we only have what is contributed, and we bought a lot of strings of warm LED lights, warm white, that's important, so they stay white and they're not blue. And we were all set to string them up in town, and we've gotten very little help. Myself and Julie Gito wrapped the tree branches in front of the town hall, and Pam Carr put together a crew, and she was all set to do the tree at the other end, which we paid for too. And when she got there, the ladder that was supposed to be there wasn't. So they tried again, and once more it wasn't there. And then some more people got together, and we did get some lights done with the help of the DPW, who really do try to help us. And then we find out that there's no electricity, and so it won't light up.
The plugs won't work.
And we had an outdoor timer that was, left there for the trees, and that seems to have disappeared. And so it's just been one thing after another. We really are trying hard to make the center lit up and look pretty, and it's just been very difficult, but we're still at it.
Well, go ahead, Leo.
If I could, and this is like, again, trying to get the businesses involved, and everybody's always asking a lot of the businesses to donate to their charities, to help with the schools, to help with the fundraisers that are going on around town. And there could be a business that could help. There could be an electrician that might be able to help with some of those plugs.
Yes.
But again, now we have to find out whose responsibility is that. Do they need permission from the town to be able to do that work on town property if it's on the islands?
See, Leo, this is where, and I'm glad this wasn't our plan, but I'm glad because I'm a political guy. And then what I'm saying is, I hope that if the town officials who are watching this will understand the plight that you're experiencing, and they have the answers. And it would seem to me, again, if I were approaching it, I would first go to the interim town manager and have the conversation about the needs, because as opposed to you going to each one of the departments,
Right, and again,
that's where you might first take the issue.
And this isn't something that's major, that's like ongoing. It's, unfortunately, they find out this as they're trying to put the lights up.
That's right.
Because there was no pre-planning. But look, if I could just get back to one of the other things that I would like to see happen, and one of the things that I have been trying to be an advocate for and push for, is there are a lot of these organizations that the businesses do give to, whether it's baseball or Pup Warner or softball, Stoyak, the Pops Club. If these businesses had a little more of a working relationship with these organizations, and maybe some of these kids could volunteer some of their time to give back to the community.
Well, Leo, you're heading in the right direction. As far as I was going to further say that, going back to your being in the square and people hunking's not enough. I mean, we have to, see the hunking is not enough. And what I would say that, you may have to, trying to think, the folks with the, I should know, with the red outfit and the pails, the organization Salvation Army, in terms of having that type of arrangement, in terms of collecting those types of funds. Because the unfortunate part is it's always the few who are doing the things for the many.
Right.
There are many folks that are benefiting from it, and they're not making a contribution, and that troubles me across the spectrum. When we have that problem, and I don't want to preach on the issue, but I want to encourage folks to support the town that we're in some type of way, either participating in, giving funding, and certainly for me, an organization which I'm the co-chair of in Boston, what we have done with the groups which we funded, they have a direct response. They're told that this is part of the responsibility. If you want to get funding from us, this is what we would like for you to do. So it's not a question of whether they volunteer. if you're giving the funding, you can't dictate how your dollars are used, or they don't have to accept them.
Right. And again, I mean, everybody only has so much time.
That's right.
As Forrest said earlier, but it's part of organizing it and putting the structure together is finding what is most passionate for those people. You know, the beautification committee, we were lucky that we had those 3 women who were already doing it on their own. Right. Because they already had something started. It was already in action for many years.
It actually goes back to, it was 1993 with Joe McCrisky started. And they built up some timber planters and did a lot of work. That's where it started.
And Ed DeFelice also helped out with
so
that.
it's having these subcommittees and finding the people who it's passionate for.
And again, you know, I'm harping on the issue. Yes, the names you've mentioned are persons who are embedded in the activities here in Stoughton. What I'm talking about is the other 90% that are not, that are still the beneficiaries, and I'm saying to them, they need to begin to participate in some way, somehow, in the activities of what we have here. I'm going to go in and speak, have folks know who our sponsors are, but I want to come back. I'm going to come back because I want to talk. We've gone broadly talking about the things we'd like to have happen. I want to come back because I want to highlight, since we're here talking to the Friends of Stoughton Center, that I want to come back to you in terms of your activities, some of your future plans, some of your needs, the funding piece I talked about, and we'll do that right after we come back.
Okay.
Hi, it's Gary LaPierre, and the crew wants to thank Maxie's Delicatessen. That's at 117 Sharon Street in Stoughton. They're 781-341-1662. American Cancer Society, yes, they're looking for volunteers. Drive cancer patients to and from their treatments. 1-800-ACS-6662. Or just go to www.cancer.org. Ilsa Mark's Food Pantry in St. Anthony's Free Market, 2 Park Avenue in Stoughton. For more information, call Christine Gallagher. That's at 781-341-0611 or 781-341-0549. Meals on Wheels. Just ask for Jessica. You'll find her at 781-344-8882, extension 2. Stoughton Penny Saver. Our business is advertising your business, they tell us. 27 Rose Glen Street, Stoughton, 781-344-4833. Community Forum showtimes in Stoughton. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m., Monday at 8 p.m., Tuesday at 5 p.m. It's on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. All comments and suggestions welcome. Contact us at communityforum1@yahoo.com. Samaritans, they're at 41 West Street on the 4th floor in Boston, 02111. Their phone number is 617-536-2460. 24-hour helplines for Samaritans, and the number is 877-870-HOPE. That's 877-870-4673. Samaritans, you can find them at 800-252-TEEN. That's 252-8336. Or find them online at SamaritansHope.org.
Get Fresh, Stoughton's own cooking show, is having new episodes are coming soon. You can see them on Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 28. They are on Mondays, 5:30 p.m., Wednesday, 8 p.m., Thursday, 9 a.m., and Friday at 5 p.m. Get Fresh. Hometown Business Show, Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m., Sundays at 7 p.m. on Comcast Channel 9, Verizon Channel 28. Tune in. Monday Night Bingo at Avatora Congregation, 1179 Central Street, Stoughton. You better get there early. The doors open at 4:30 p.m. Game starts at 6:30 p.m. Have fun, spend some money, support a good effort, and see your friends. Well, folks, we are back again. As I indicated, I want to bring us back and focus on, to some extent, on the Friends of Stoughton Center. But I know, Forrest, you had talked while we were off air that you want to talk about the support that you have gotten from government officials. So why don't you speak on that for a moment, and then we'll move on to some other issues.
Yeah, it has. It's been a positive experience for us all the way around. One of the things that the town is planning to do through the engineering public works group is the lane reconfiguration in the center of town and redoing the islands. So I made a proposal that they would reconfigure. In the process of reconfiguring those center islands, we could build them up with some granite curb and make real planters out of those islands. Similar, if you've been over to Randolph, near the Randolph High School, you see these
Yes.
beautiful islands with perennial plants and flowers. Board of Selectmen very receptive, as long as we made the commitment that we would do the planting, facilitate all of that work. We did get a lot of support. And we did always through Pam McCarthy. Anything that we've had to, talk about through the political aspect of it, Pam has been there for us as our technical advisor. We would like to see the town center bloom, okay? It's the only way to say it, okay? But there are other things that we have done just trying to help out. The banner that's in front of the Malcolm Parsons building, that was an idea that Dan Kelly came up with. Just said, we can do this banner. Well, it turns out that Bernard Planetta owns a company that printed this banner in Florida and had it shipped up here. It's 84 feet long and 8 foot high. But we had to have a meeting with the fire department, police, and everybody to make sure that we put it on the plywood, take away that temporary chain link fence, that it would be a stable wall to put the banner on. No problem. So a lot of cooperation. Going forward, I think we'd like to see more benches. We purchased some bistro tables and chairs, the small wrought iron ones that you see in front of the Friends of the Stoughton Theater.
Yes.
Entry foyer. They sort of morph over in front of Avocado's restaurant occasionally. We put some next to the House of Brews on the lawn next to the Free Library. There needs to be more of those. There needs to be more, as I said, benches and gathering places. And that's difficult. I think if the Malcolm Parsons building comes online, there'll be room to do some of those types of things. And
That's what I want to ask you about, any one of you, because there have been some gaps in the teeth, if you will, as far as, we had the building that was on, I think that was the Malcolm Parsons building, was it not, the one that burned?
yes, Shengdu Restaurant.
Yeah, and there were a number of discussions about, I thought that project was going to be on its way. Can you give folks, if you know, any update on that at all?
All that we know is that they are short of 4 parking spaces, and excuse me, and so even though they have the planning board's approval, I suspect that without the long-term commitment for 4 parking spaces, that the financing becomes a bit of an issue. If they sold it in a year, it's a non-conforming, to zoning issue.
Yes.
Okay, so parking seems to be the holdup. Beyond that, I don't think anyone knows, but it has gone on way too long. The banner, at least, is somewhat more attractive, and beyond that, I don't think we, have a solid idea. But there are other empty storefronts as well. The big thing from Master Plan and Redevelopment Authority is the post office. Can we, somehow gain control of the post office site, help them relocate at least the distribution facility?
Well, Forrest, we had that meeting, what,
Years
3 years
ago.
ago?
Yeah,
3 or 4 years ago.
And all they want is a small retail kiosk.
That's right.
To continue their level of service in the center of town, which is greatly appreciated. But the 21 trucks and the staff that are attendant to that, if we could get them out of there, then maybe at one time someone called it the living room, okay, that you turn around instead of the front of Washington Street being the center of town, that where the post office now becomes a living room, and that becomes more of the center of town.
Well, Leo would like that.
That's a challenge. That's a huge challenge. But
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of plans that are put out there, but it's putting the package together, because who's going to come up and make that investment? It's finding that person, getting everybody on board to show that the community works together and will support somebody coming in and making the investment in town.
Well, see, what and this is a refrain that Ed DeFelice said on numerous occasions, particularly in town meeting, that the plans get up there, there's plans, but they never get to action items. I think that may be something at some point in time that we may have to look more closely at, is to move these into action items, someone taking the lead and the initiative on it. I'm not sure who would do that if it was from a, because I think that's a private sector piece that may have to
Exactly.
start. And again, not to knock my friends at the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce, but to me, those are the types of projects that they should be initiating there. I believe they are better suited in order to form that collaboration between business people and government. But I'll leave that to Terry and the board to decide. I know Jeffrey here is on the board, and I just will throw things out which I can while I got the microphone. I can throw those things out. But coming back to your organization, because I want to focus on you again. I know you mentioned about the membership. Walk one through as to how can they become a member, what do they have to do? And of course, I don't know if we've put up any type of contact information for you, so I'm going to ask Gina if we do have contact information on how to get to FOSC, that's up there as well. But why don't you tell us, any one of you three?
Well, the website is simple. It's www.friendsofstoughtoncenter.org. Easily found. On the website, there are membership applications. My email address is on there. I believe my cell phone number is probably on there. And we do pick up members on a fairly regular basis. And we do some outreach, here and there, when we can as a part of our meetings. But overall, as a general thing, it's a real challenge to.
There's no cost. There's no
there's
membership
no cost,
fee.
no
There's
membership.
no dues. Nothing.
No, it's
Everything
it's
is
just
done.
work.
The money raised is all through the fundraising.
But one of the fun things about an organization like this is if you are independent from the town government situation, you can do things and you can do them quickly. You can do them rapidly, okay? That banner that we hung up there, from the time that Dan Kelly received the graphics from the developer showing the picture of the building to that going up was 3 weeks. Okay, I mean, it got printed in Florida, it got shipped up. Steve Kelly, Dan Kelly, and myself hung that up in one, for it took 3 or 4 hours. But we can do things, we're nimble, and
Well,
we can
that's
do
the
things
reason
quick,
why I'm
okay?
saying, that's why I'm saying that
But
that's why
a project like the lane reconfiguration in the center of town, that's a huge project.
Absolutely.
Okay, and so we just, we want to participate in whatever portion of it that we can. But we have an events committee, and that is the carnival and the golf tournament, and they will do other events as we go forward. We have a social media group that does take care of our website and promotions. And what has been lacking, as Leo referred to, is we have a business relations committee that really hasn't had a whole lot of effort put into it. And that is something that I absolutely support Leo 100% and will work very closely with him. I spent probably the first year and a half doing a lot of administrative work, getting the 501c3, the tax forms, all the other administrative things that go along with being a charitable organization. I now have more time to help Leo. Okay, he's the chairman. He's going to become chairman of this committee at this point. But no, seriously, and he has the ideal venue to have meetings, for people. We had a wonderful meeting there last night, which was just to come together post-election. And we had people from both sides of the recall election there last night, and sharing stories about life and kids and good stuff.
Good. Well, that maybe again, I won't digress on on that, but I think the healing process would definitely be helpful, because I'm sure that it was clear that there were differing views, and if you are the start of that process, I thank you for that in terms of the healing process.
Sam gets the majority of the credit for that. She's got the heart and the passion to keep things going. And last night I was thinking back to before she opened the House of Brews, and it was still under construction, and we would pull into the parking lot across the street in the post office at night, and I'd have to park the car just so that the headlights were shining on the front, and we would sit there for a couple of hours just thinking about what's really going to happen here, where are we going, what's the end plan, what's the goal. And it's pretty close when you start to see the community supporting it and coming together like that, and just trying to get that to continue.
Well, that's, I mean, again, it's taking that particular effort and enlarging it to some of what we've talked about. And I would hope that our viewing audience will take heed to what's been stated here today. There's no demands that are being made. We're just saying if you want to address the traffic situation in Stoughton Center, if you want to see the redevelopment of Stoughton Center, if you want thriving businesses in Stoughton Center, if you want the theater in Stoughton Center, if you want to assist alleviate the parking at Stoughton Center, if you want to help in any number of ways with the beautification along that road 138 that we have here, that one day I hope that I can drive down a tree-lined 138, then you want to get involved. And I think that's what we're talking about. You know, we're coming down towards the end of the program, and I really want to give you, each of you, because my friend, you know, Forrest and I will dominate the talking, but I want to give you, Janice, and you, Leo, an opportunity to basically go whichever way you want to go as far as your encouragement, your involvement, or anything else that you'd like to talk about along the lines of the Friends of Stoughton Center. So why don't you take the floor?
One thing I would like is fundraising. We need a budget. If we had the money, we could do so much. We would love to hire a company to put up the lights and decorate the town during the holidays, but that's pricey. And also what Forrest was talking about with the islands, we would like our center to look like Randolph's. If any of you haven't been through Randolph, take a ride through. It's beautiful. We would like to see that done. And wherever we go, and we go a lot of places, we see ideas. And gee, we'd love to do that in the town, but this committee wouldn't like it, or this government part of town will shoot it down. It's just tough to get ideas through because there's so many roadblocks. So I guess, speaking for myself, I'd like to see some of these roadblocks removed so that we can just make a smooth transition, like Forrest said, with the banner. It should be like that everywhere, like the fundraising, putting those pamphlets in the water bills. I mean, we're not looking for selfish reasons. This is for the whole town, so I don't understand why that would be a problem.
Let me just give another thought. We'll make this an informational show as well, and something you might explore. There are ways in which you create business districts which have which may alleviate some of the differing views, because you create, and I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is, but Pam McCarthy may know. I know the CDBG is a designation as well.
It's a BID. It's a BID. It's a business investment district.
And if you do that, then that entity or body would have the control over what you're talking about. If you can get established as that would be the entity that would make the determination, and it would be centralized as opposed to this
wonderful.
Fractured decision making, because that can be
very frustrating.
Yes. So maybe that's the start to get to the answer to the question that you've raised, Janice, that in order to have a single place, a single stopping for ideas and for implementation. And I think that's, if we could get that, that would be a start.
I would like to just quickly add that the businesses that have flower pots in front of them pay for it. They pay for the purchase of the plants, and then the ladies, myself included, we go around and we water them. But the businesses are helping that way.
Let me answer, because I'm just envisioning you either with a long water hose or either a whole bunch of pots that you're doing it.
It's milk jugs. It's just milk jugs.
Yeah.
Okay.
From our home.
Yeah, then I'm going to recommend that, I'm not one that puts in articles, but it would seem to me that the DPW can get one of those water trucks.
They have one.
They have one.
They have one.
They have one.
The water truck, and if we can find a way in which that they can take over that responsibility. Once again, I'm going to say, using my Boston example, I see them going up and down different streets and they're doing exactly that watering. And I think that if the private citizens are good enough in order to put the plantings in, then I think that it can be to assist you, that government who has the facility, and if that calls about hiring someone in order to do that, well, that's a conversation we need to have.
Yes, some towns do that. They hire people.
Again, though, there's even, if you go into Northeastern Center, the businesses in Northeastern Center, they have watering systems in the building they have small clear tubing
Right.
that comes out of their building that's on a timer that waters those hanging plants and waters.
All the buildings have hanging plants.
So
in front of them.
there is a very easier way to do it than, you know, I mean, for a small investment, what it's going to cost to get that watering system put in might be $900. I mean, to have 2 or 3 DPW employees out there.
Well,
every
that's
day
right.
watering,
What
you know.
I'm suggesting is whichever makes it, that's
Yeah.
why I was laughingly
makes
said the
sense.
long holes, but in terms of water, makes no sense to me when there are solutions which are more practical. And if that's the one, Leo, and you know, I'm not familiar from, I'll leave it to the engineers to come up with those types of ideas. You know, lawyers, we just litigate, but in terms of the, but come up with the ideas, then that should be brought forward and determination made that it can happen. $900, that's,
As far as knows, there's been so many other things that have been bigger things to work on first to get the group up and running.
Well, I know that
and
Janice
moving
would like to
forward.
have that, so you need to make sure that her
But-
wishes are met.
You know, it's kind of funny though, because I ran the scheduling, you know, for the watering. For, you know, various people would cover during the week, other people would cover on the weekends. I kind of enjoy doing it. It's an okay thing to do. I mean, when we started this beautification committee, the chairperson is a horticulturalist. I know how to water plants, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind doing that. It's I don't know whether it's just it's a good feeling. And other people smile, they say thank you or whatever. If you walk out in the center of town and somebody is saying thank you for doing that, it just makes you feel good. So I know it's not the most practical way to go about it, but it invests our committee in doing it, and people do feel good about it. So that's a little bit of a catch-22, I think, as well. As long as DPW is there for us on what they've been doing, and we get this lane reconfiguration project, then then we can start looking at more and more of a sharing, if you will, or a partnership, if you will. Yes, that's in our future. That's what we want to do. But I think the business is the real key element as going forward right now, is where our effort needs to be. If you look at Stoughton from a business perspective, we have 3 downtowns. We have 138 south of the square, we have the square, and we have 138 north of the square. And then you have a whole Park Street corridor, which is a whole nother gamut. And the businesses that are on the outer parts of 138, the center isn't their focus, because that's not where the business comes from. And we understand that. So that makes it a very difficult challenge.
And if you compare Stoughton, I mean, we do have to change what everybody's idea is of the downtown. I mean, it is what we have. You can look at Easton, you can look at Canton. They don't have 9 streets in 1/8 of a mile intersecting, let alone 3 of those streets being state highways.
Right.
I mean, 138, 27, 139 running through our center in 1/8 of a mile. There's always going to be traffic. There's going to be congestion. But as we're trying to bring businesses in, we have to have a more positive outlook of what our center is. And we have to promote our center, because if somebody's looking to buy property or to move a business into the downtown, the first thing they're going to do is online search. They're going to look, what's my opportunity here? What's my payback on my investment? And if they see parking is horrible, traffic is miserable, somebody's going to be turned off on that. We need the community to support what we have.
But the other side of that too, and I'm going to keep pushing the government angle, you guys don't have to, because there are things that folks can do. There are business incentives that can be coming. They have beautification programs, they have monies for this, monies for that in other places, putting in new windows, any number of things that they have. What we need to do is to be able to put some of those along the lines of what you're talking about, Leo. We have to put that on the laundry list in terms of things to attract businesses in. And when businesses are coming in as well, putting on them some things that we would like to have them do, participate in beautification or do whatever the case might be. And that's what landlords can do if they're just having persons who are renting. So there's a lot of things that as you said, you have a lot on your table, on your plate, so they may not be for you to do them, but these are some of the things that are going to be helpful to you in the long run in accomplishing your objectives.
Yeah, Pam McCarthy did get a grant to do a storefront facade improvement program,
Right.
okay? And that's going to start soon as far as a demonstration of, and I forget exactly which building she's looking at, that would basically dress up the facade so that you've got a more uniform presentation.
Right.
But we have, we still have a building downtown with brown paper all over the window. We've got a Tyvek Palace on Wyman Street that used to be Wyman's Jewelers. It's got a piece of plywood in the door. And Tyvek
but see, in
and
terms
it's not happening.
Yeah, but see, that's
like
that's a building department issue in terms of enforcing it. Those types of issues, and so, but I know I've been talking to government piece here. This is the holiday season, and we are winding down in terms of our program. But I'm raising these things because I think that the work that you're doing as a Friends of Stoughton Center are one, essential, and I applaud you for doing it, even with the difficulties that from time to time. What I really want to do is, while I'm prodding this, I'm trying to prod both our citizens, our business community, as well as our government, to assist you in the efforts that you're engaging in. Because what you're really doing are public issues. You're doing public issues in a private organization, and so for that, I applaud you. I want to ask the viewing audience to support them. Up on the screen are the ways in which you can contact the Friends of Stoughton. They're at www.friendsofstoughtoncenter.org. You can contact the president, Forrest Lindwall, at lindwallf@gmail.com. It's really, I've gotten an education here. Certainly I knew of what you were doing. You started around the time when I was in government as well, and I know that you've been trying to do great work, and I want to encourage you to continue. I give you my support. It's just that Forrest will call me up for sure and tell me where to send my contribution, so I will definitely do that. But I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and wish you a bright 2018.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you for hosting us.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. I think we have a lot of joy in what we're doing, and joy is the season. So,
we appreciate getting the word out and being it. The more people we can reach out to and get involved, the faster we can get things done.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.